Well, it's been a heck of a 24-hour period before I got here tonight. But I have been able to join you all here. Greetings, brothers and sisters from around the world, and welcome back to the home, the haven, the stronghold, and the super fortress of intelligent Black thought. This is the blackchannel.net radio. I am your host, your brother, your humble servant, the Black Authority. And I'd like to thank you all for joining us here tonight at the only sane place for intelligent Black thought. This is where we do it here at the blackchannel.net radio. Now, a lot's happened since you all saw me, heard from me last here, of course. A lot's happened, and of course, that's what we do. This is a place that does not just talk about what needs to be done. This is a place that does things. That's why people who say, what's the solution? I get rid of them quick. We are the solution. And if you can't see that what we're giving you is the solution, you're a little too slow to be here. I know the place moves quick, so you just might be too slow to be among us. You see, the national media has pretended to be concerned about Ferguson. Let's just be very clear about this. Ferguson is a metaphor for Black society and everything that's happened to us since we left the plantations. Ferguson is a metaphor, and that is why it is a watershed moment. They know it, and now you do. That you understand how high the stakes really are now. For those of you who don't know, on my Black Authority channel, I put up a video called Overthrowing Ferguson. Because I put out something that lit the world on fire overnight. I put out the campaign finance records for the mayor and the city council of the town of Ferguson. That's right. I put out the campaign finance records so that you could see how much money they raised and where they got it from. Nobody, absolutely nobody has done that. No one. The Black Channel, intelligent Black society. We are the only ones who actually dug into the events, got the records, and presented them to you. And I would like to thank Timothy Goldman, who, without him, he got things done a lot quicker. A lot quicker than they otherwise would have been. So, a huge thank you to Tim Goldman, who single-handedly almost made this come together. I was actually out of pocket at the time. I'm sitting up here at this hotel and I'm looking at this skyline of a not to be mentioned city. And next thing I know, I'm looking up and I'm like, I got 45 attachments. I'm like, what in the world's going on here? And that's Tim. He has sent me all those pages. He wanted to make sure I had everything. And that is being thorough. He sent me photographs of them, and then I went back and asked him if he could scan them. So for those of you who got the photographs, you might want to go back because I have a folder on my Dropbox, and I've already given out the link before. It's called J. Knowles Finance Records. And that's actually got the scanned documents so you can see them fully and see them in full detail at full size. Because Facebook crushes the size of photographs, so for those of you who got the original Dropbox one, I've got another one, and you're going to want to have that one so you can have the actual scans. And once again, we want to thank Tim Goldman for that. Great work on his part. And this is how we show the world that this isn't a game and this isn't a joke. Because you see, you might be taking cheap shots. Those of you in the white supremacist media and the white supremacist government, you might be taking cheap shots. In intelligent Black society, we don't take cheap shots. we take kill shots. I did this because my goal is nothing short of ending the political career of Jay Knowles and the rest of the white supremacists of the Ferguson City Council. My goal is nothing short of that. I meant exactly what I said last Sunday. I meant exactly what I said in the video that I posted. I meant exactly what I told you. My goal is nothing short of overthrowing a government. And we're gonna start in the city of Ferguson. The goal is to overthrow the government. And we are going to galvanize every single black voter in the city of Ferguson toward that end. To overthrow the white supremacist regime in Ferguson. And let me tell you, brothers and sisters, the white supremacists have gone nuts. They've gone crazy. You should see some of the comments they've left. It's not the typical nigger stuff. Oh no, you can see the fear trembling in their eyeballs. You can see it. Because their comments are things like, we don't want to, y'all don't need to vote. What does that matter? You can't do anything anyway. Well, if we couldn't do anything anyway, why did you bother to comment? Why did you bother to stop and say anything? If you were really going to be able to retain control, why are you here? Why aren't you just back where you were, retaining control? Why didn't you just do that? And you didn't do that because you know that the jig is up. And that's why you're trying to talk us into thinking that, oh, you didn't have a problem being on our plantation. Why, those were the good old days. You see, they hear black people talking about something that they have never in their lifetimes heard black people talk about: black empowerment. The idea and the concept that we as black people can take something from the white supremacist society, that is what they are here to attempt to destroy by all means. The idea that white power can control something and that black empowerment can come, walk in, and take it from you. The idea that in the 21st century we are not finished and done with, and that we have the ability to march into your estuaries and into your echelons of power, and we are able to take power out of your hands and place it into our own. The city of Ferguson brings in $20 million in revenue. 20,000 people in the town, but they bring in $20 million of revenue for the city every year. Do you think they want to see black people making the decisions where that $20 million is spent? If the position of mayor in Ferguson was worthless, there would be no white people running for it. Jay Knowles would not be running for it if the position was worthless. You would not have an 85% majority white government, an apartheid regime, if having those positions in Ferguson was worthless. They wouldn't be going through all this work and doing all this fighting over it if it was worthless. See, this is the game that white bigotry plays. White supremacy plays the game of trying to indoctrinate and condition black people to think that what we have is worthless. It means nothing. And we should just be happy that they even showed up to take this worthless garbage off our hands. That's what they condition you to believe, that everything that you have is garbage and it can never be worth anything on its own with you. It will only be worth something, and its only possibility of ever becoming worth something is if you give it to them. Let them have it. Once they have it, then it stands the possibility of becoming worth something. But until they get a hold of it, no. No. Until they get a hold of it, it's worthless. And this idea that you got something valuable and we as black people can walk in and take it from you. Don't you know the effect that that will have on white supremacy and white bigotry around the world? That in an American city with the eyes of the world watching, black people told you what we were gonna do. We said what we were gonna do, and then we walked in, marched in, fist in the air, socked you in the eye, and then we did it. We said we were gonna kick your ass. We sent you letters and certified mail saying we were gonna kick your ass. We got billboards saying we were gonna kick your ass. You said no, we weren't, and we told you on the last day we're coming today to whoop your ass precisely at 1 p.m. Eastern Time. And we showed up at 1 p.m. on the dot and beat the John Wayne mess out your ass. And that is how you gain credibility among peoples of the earth. You say what you're gonna do. You live what you're gonna do. You tell your enemies what you're gonna do to them, and then you get up and you do it. And that is why the first time you had to say what you were gonna do and then do it. The next time, all you got to do is say what you're going to do, and now your words have credibility. It is unnecessary for you to raise your fists. Your words have credibility because you've already shown these people that your word is as good as action. Think about the tidal wave that this will set off around the world. Think about how this will show the world that in the 21st century we have broken the back of white supremacy. Think of all the jigaboon and coon politicians who will now be put on notice in black society that you must start doing the people's business or we will mobilize to remove you. We are showing white supremacy that we're not going to go back and forth in spitting contests on the internet or in the Yahoo comment section. We are coming for your throats. We're coming for your power. That is how we are going to punish you. We are coming for what matters to you most. And we are taking all of it. Without hesitation, without reservation, and without apology, and without mercy. That is the definition of 21st century black empowerment from now until infinity. And they are shaking in their boots. They are quaking. They're scared to death. They've set off a tidal wave. There has created this gigantic groundswell, and they're now running from it. They are running. They're terrified to death now. There was an article that was up earlier today. Actually, it was posted yesterday. There were technical difficulties that didn't allow me to speak on this yesterday. But from Reuters, Kevin Murphy. Voter registration jumps in Ferguson since shooting of black resident. Dateline, Kansas City, Missouri. Voter registration in Ferguson, Missouri has jumped nearly 30% since August 9th when the fatal shooting of an unarmed black teen by a white officer triggered calls for a more racially representative city government. Nearly 3,300 Ferguson residents registered to vote between August 9th and September 30th. That is about 2/3 of the total new voter registrations in the county of 1 million people during that period. Ferguson has about 21,000 residents. Brothers and sisters, Ferguson has about 21,000 residents, and they just registered 3,300 people. That means that what? 12% of the population just registered to vote. This is just how real things got. I think it's actually close to like 15%, but you get the idea. 15% of the population of Ferguson just registered to vote in 1 month. Don't you know white supremacy knows that you are serious about riding on their ass? We done jumped in the Cadillac with the straps in our laps And all we're saying is we gonna ride on you. We are done talking. It's time to ride. Don't you know that white supremacy understands that when you stop talking about the injustice they have done to you, when you stop talking and your feet start moving, that is when they get terrified. Because they know that now action is about to be taken. It says 3 seats on the city council in Ferguson are up for election in April. That's just right now. You can actually recall the mayor. For the people that you do not have elections for now, you can issue recalls for them. And we can force an election on everybody. We can force an election on everybody now. 3 seats are up for grabs in April. If we do this recall, all the seats will be up for grabs in April. And think about the shockwaves that would send around the world. That we've broken the back of white supremacy in just a couple of months. And this sets the template that all other oppressed peoples in America will be able to, all other oppressed black people in America will be able to use. In every city that we are oppressed in, which is pretty much all of them, that's what we can do. Finally, a viable option that works. And when we get done with the mayor and the city council, next up, the prosecuting attorney. Now, the white supremacists were in the comment section foaming at the mouth. They were talking as if black people did not have a right to vote for a black government. They didn't say anything to defend the current government. They were talking as if we didn't have a right to vote for a black government. What they were doing was they were expressing their own inner anxieties and their own inner beliefs. That's what they were really doing. They were expressing what they believe at heart. What they believe at heart is that black people do not have the right to vote for a black government. The only thing we have a right to do is to sit and watch white supremacists, but we don't have the right to vote for a government that's in our interests. We only have the right to sit back and spectate. Now, when it's time to go after the black citizens of Ferguson and to force them to pay all of these kangaroo court traffic tickets that are intended to do nothing except gouge the black citizenry of their money, the white supremacists don't have anything to say about that. That is the machine working as it should be working, as far as they're concerned. That's the machine working correctly. Black people being self-determining. Don't you know that there is absolutely nothing more frightening to a white supremacist than a black person who has become self-determining? Don't you know that there is absolutely nothing more frightening to him? When a white supremacist hears a black person talking about directing our own lives instead of looking to him to do it, he gets scared to death. Why? Because he depends on you for so much of his income. Over 10% of Ferguson's $20 million a year comes from traffic fees and court costs, which tells you that the court is nothing but a scam. And the majority of those people paying that $2.6 million in traffic fines and fees are black. Now, this brings us to another point, brothers and sisters from around the world. This brings us to another point. I don't want to hear anybody in Ferguson talk about we don't have enough money to start our own Black Wall Street. I don't want to hear it. Did you get that, everybody? I don't want to hear anybody in Ferguson talk about we don't have enough money to start our own black businesses. If you got $2.6 million per year, $2.6 million per year to give and to fund the court system, you got enough money to start your own black businesses, to get rid of the white supremacists in your town, to forge a black economic mecca. You've got the ability to do that. Remember on my broadcast about Ferguson, the next Black Wall Street, remember what I told you they could do with $50,000. Now we're talking about we have now confirmed that you got over $2 million. I was just talking about what you could do with $50,000. We have confirmed that you have over $2 million. That's confirmed. Ain't no need to talk about it. Ain't no need to discuss it. We have now confirmed that you got it. Now that we've confirmed that, there is no reason for a white supremacist to have a business, a school, or a government seat in that city ever again. There is no reason for a white supremacist to have a business, a school, or a seat in government in Ferguson ever again. Not when black folk got over $2 million a year that they can spend in Ferguson. Just like black folk did not show up to vote, which is how a city that is 2/3 black ended up with a 90% white government. Black folk couldn't be bothered to show up to vote, and black folk couldn't be bothered to spend their money on business. But I'm sure the hair weaves and the rims and the Jordans are on point in Ferguson. I'm not going to spend too much time belaboring where we've been, because I want to spend the most of our time talking about where we're going. I want us to spend most of our time talking about where we're going. And where we are going is we're going to shove black empowerment right down their throats. But you now have the template, and we've proven that it works. Now, for those of you who are not aware, for the 3 people who are not aware out there, I don't know what rock you've been living under, but I did a video called Overthrowing Ferguson, and I discussed the campaign finance records for the mayor and the city council in Ferguson. Mayor Jay Knowles in 2011, which was the last time he ran for mayor, Mayor Jay Knowles raised $2,500. Let me say that again. When Jay Knowles ran for mayor of Ferguson in 2011, the last time he ran, he raised $2,500. Not $2 million. Not $250,000. Not $25,000. $2,500. Less than most of you spent for your last used car. Cash. What you paid cash for your last new car, your last used car, was probably more than Jay Knowles spent to run for mayor in Ferguson. He spent $2,500. The hoes in the housing projects in Ferguson got 2 or 3 times that much in earned income tax credit, which is amazing. How can you call it earned income tax credit if she's being paid for income that she did not earn, income she didn't even make? But I digress. Jay Knowles spent $2,500 to win the mayor's office in Ferguson. 3 years later, they gunned down Mike Brown. 3 years later. The path to Mike Brown's execution ran through the mayor of Ferguson. The road to the execution of Mike Brown runs through the mayor's office and the election of 3 years ago, where the white supremacists of the Ferguson Police Department felt so emboldened by Jay Knowles that they said, well, hell, we can just go on a killing spree now. Now we can really put the niggers in their place. That was what he told himself. That was what they did. They said that we can go on a rampage now, and that's exactly what they did. Pulling over black people for anything, everything, and nothing. Racial profiling. Writing tickets for things that didn't happen. This is what I mean by we are playing games with people who are not playing games with us. We are trying to sit here and play games with people who are not playing games with any of us. Not at all. Now, you don't have to believe it, but the math pretty much speaks for itself at this point. The math pretty much speaks for itself. I don't really see any reason I have to belabor it. The math speaks for itself. Jay Knowles only raised $2,500 to run for mayor of Ferguson. You mean to tell me that with 2/3 of the city being black and with all the rims you got from the local rim shop, no black folk in Ferguson had, I don't know, $3,000 to run against Jay Knowles? How about Councilman Mark Byrne? Byrne raised $3,400 to run for his city council seat. That's right. The city councilman Byrne, he actually raised more money than Mayor Knowles did. And as I pointed out in the documents, by the way, $1,000 of that $3,400, a third of what he raised, came from a bail bondsman. There's a bail bondsman in Ferguson who donated $1,000 to Mark Byrne's city council campaign. And Mark Byrne won. Now, if you got $1,000 from a bail bondsman, what is it that this bail bondsman expects you to do? What is he looking for? What kind of representation is a bail bondsman? What kind of priorities do you think this bail bondsman has for city government? You see, you all didn't know why you in Ferguson, most of you are sitting in court with traffic fines. You didn't know why. Isn't this amazing that the same bail bondsman who you are paying to get out on bail in Ferguson is the same bail bondsman who is taking the money that you are paying him with and paying a city councilman to make sure that they keep putting you in jail? He's using your money to fund your incarceration and your persecution. I can't make it any more plain than that. They are now just taking the money out of your pocket, putting it in the pockets of the prison industrial complex and the court system to go after you. I've connected the dots. I don't know what more I can do. I connected the dots. I got the documentation. Go to my video on my Black Authority YouTube channel, Overthrowing Ferguson. It's got the link to the Dropbox where you can go and download the documents. And by the way, I put everybody's documents in there. So if you haven't downloaded it since Wednesday, if you have not downloaded that Dropbox, the one that says J. Knowles Finance Records, if you haven't gone in that folder, you need to go back, because I also added, I took the liberty of going to the Missouri Ethics Commission website and downloading the finance records for Mark Byrne, Kim Tian, and Dwayne James, the 3 city council members who actually filed campaign finance records. I downloaded their information so you can go see it for yourselves. Go and see it for yourself. He got $1,000 just from a bail bondsman. But he wants you to believe that all of you black people who are being arrested and being given bogus traffic tickets, he wants you to believe that that's all just a coincidence. That the bail bondsman gives him $1,000, and next thing you know, police are pulling over black folk left and right. But the two are totally unrelated. Okay, Councilman Byrne, right. Now, the black city councilman, Dwayne James, he raised $1,800 to run for city council. $1,800. And believe it or not, that makes Dwayne James' campaign the third most expensive. He was the third most well-financed politician in the city of Ferguson with $1,800. $1,800. That's less than most of you make in a month in income. He used that to run for city council, and he won. I think what's been happening in Ferguson is that black folk just outright have not been running for office. They haven't been voting, and they haven't been running for office. Black people completely checked out of the political process in Ferguson. How else could this be? How else could we have the results that we have? Black folk just checked out of the political process in Ferguson, and the white supremacists swooped in and took advantage. Next comes Kim Tian. Now, Miss Tian raised about $600. I want to say it was around $690, I think was what she raised. $690. And that was enough for Kim Tian to win her seat on the Ferguson City Council. $690. She is a white female Republican. A white female Republican. And you think that she doesn't go into City Hall every day fantasizing about all the things that she can do to prosecute and persecute black people? She is a white female Republican. I don't really have to tell you anything more beyond that. That should tell you everything you need to know. That should really say everything. If you don't know that you are under the gun, if you don't know that you are in the crosshairs after hearing what I just told you, then nothing else I tell you will matter. Now, the other 3 city councilmen in Ferguson, there are no campaign finance records for them. And the reason for that is because in the state of Missouri, if you raise less than $500 for your campaign, you are not required to file campaign finance records. So the other 3 city councilmen in Ferguson, because there are only 6 city councilmen in Ferguson, there's only 6. 3 of the 6, half of the Ferguson City Council, half claim that they raised less than $500 when they ran for city council. Less than $500. In other words, most of you make more money in a week than half the Ferguson City Council spent running for office so that they could engineer the murder of Mike Brown. When you add up what everybody got, when you add up all the donations that everybody in the city government of Ferguson received, from the mayor to all 6 city council people, do you realize that that is less than $10,000? That is less than $10,000. Jay Knowles essentially spent what? A dime per citizen running for mayor of Ferguson. They spent less, the white supremacists of the Ferguson City Council spent less than $10,000 combined. They spent less than $10,000 combined to take over the Ferguson City Council. Brothers and sisters, they didn't hijack it, you handed it to them. Less than $10,000 to take over the Ferguson city government. That was all it cost. Didn't take anything beyond that. Now, once you realize that they were able to seal your fate and able to solidify a legal apartheid government environment of white supremacy and black oppression for less than $10,000, and yet black people in Ferguson spend $2.5 million per year just in court and traffic fines. When you realize that that's what's going on, that that's what we've been doing, that that's what we've been allowing to happen, there is quite simply no excuse for it. There is no excuse. None. Now, we here at the Black Channel, we did the research. We did the footwork. We got the numbers. We got the intel. The most important thing you can have in warfare is intel. Intel on your opponent. Well, we got it. We know what Jay Knowles raised. You mean to tell me that Jay Knowles raised $2,500, but black folk can't raise $5,000 or $10,000 to have a candidate run against Jay Knowles for mayor? Now, I understand that the keyboard Klansmen and the World Wide Web white supremacists, I understand that they are going to try another George Zimmerman. They think they can flood the city of Ferguson with money and that that's going to buy an election. Brothers and sisters, this is one time that money is not going to be able to save white supremacy. Money is not going to be white supremacy's salvation. Oh, we don't have to spend more than them. We just have to spend enough to beat them. We don't have to spend more than them to beat them. We just have to spend enough to beat them. We spend enough to properly fund a candidate and to get out the vote, and they can spend millions in Ferguson. All they've done is flush it down the toilet. Speaking of spending millions in Ferguson, by the way, did you all know that not one TV ad, not one radio ad was purchased for the election campaigns in Ferguson? By the way, did you know that? See, a lot of you were willing to give up before you even started because you didn't even know what you were up against. If you knew how small and weak and pathetic your opponent was, you would be ashamed of yourself for allowing him to beat you. There wasn't even one television or radio ad paid for to run for public office in Ferguson. All their campaign contributions from all these people went for things like yard signs, bumper stickers, ads in the local Ferguson newspaper. It's a town of 21,000 people. How much do you think an ad in a paper for 21,000 people costs? That was what they spent their money on in Ferguson to run for office. Yard signs, bumper stickers, They spent their money at the printing company and the newspaper. That's it. They spent their money at the printing company and the newspaper. And from there, they marched into office. Brothers and sisters in Ferguson, you didn't have anything taken from you. You gave it away. Now it's time for you to take it back. Because they're not going to give it back to you. You gave them your power. They are not going to give you back your power. Because you see, your power now belongs to them. And even though you might not be aware or cognizant of how power works, they are. And they understand that power is not meant to be given, power has to be taken. That they took it from you, and now you must take it from them. That's the bad news. The good news is you're strong enough and good enough to do it. We can take it. We don't speak in vagaries here at the Black Channel. We speak in specifics. We don't tell you to get mad at governments. I don't deal in anger at white supremacy. I don't argue with white supremacy. I take down white supremacy. And now we've proven it to the world. The next order of business, and this is something that I want to organize here. I want to be the first person anywhere, because you see, I don't just come up with goals or objectives. Brothers and sisters, I bring you a plan. And most black people fail to get anything done because they don't actually have a plan. They got ideas, but they don't have a plan. The Black Channel, the home of intelligent black thought, we brought you a plan. I want to organize, if possible. I want us to find the candidates in Ferguson, if the candidates are not available, in every city council district. I want us to locate and identify candidates. And even if we got to bring them here, and we'll bring them here, and we'll have a meet the candidates here at the Black Channel. I will host it. And whomever we deem fit, that we can hold a Kickstarter, a crowdfunding for them, and whomever we deem fit, those can be the people that we fund. Those can be the people that we put our money behind. We can form a political action committee. Oh! Mayor Ferguson just had a heart attack. He's grabbing for his Tums and his aspirin. 'Cause Negroes ain't supposed to be talking like this. It's one thing to talk about a political action committee when it ain't gonna do no good. It's another thing to talk about it when you know it can do some good. Oh! Excedrin headache number 521. We can organize a political action committee, and that way we don't even have to fund a specific candidate. We can just fund change. Or we can put ads that say this is why this person needs to be removed. We can have a political action committee that runs against people. And you thought the only folk who could get down like that were the Koch brothers. You thought George Soros was the only one who could get down like that. You thought American Crossroads was the only person, or the only organization that could get down like that. That Freedom Works was the only organization that could get down like that. See, this is what you get by dealing with the civil rights coon generation. The civil rights coon generation looks for a white savior. The 21st century black empowerment generation knows that we are the savior. And black empowerment's about to go on the march. Oh no, we are not just guessing our way through this. We are not. Because I know that all of you, like me, you want to see the headlines when they show you the old photo of the old city council that was all white, and then you wake up the next day and you have an all black city council and a black mayor. At that point, you realize that that old chicken feed, ham and grits mess you've been eating ain't gonna fly. Forget the damn praying and marching. We need to be about identifying our opponents, targeting them for removal. And ain't a damn thing they can do about it except sit and watch. That I don't specialize in whining. I specialize in black empowerment. And this is the way it is done. We identify our enemies and then we remove them. And we have identified 6 enemies, possibly 7. Let me say that again. Is this thing on? We have identified 6 enemies, possibly 7, in the Ferguson city government. I don't know much about Dwayne James. I don't know enough about him to speak for him or against him. But what I will say, Mr. James, is that if you are a well-paid stooge, if you are one of these Negroes who goes along to get along, if you are one of these black folks who's just a token on the government and you just vote along with who you hope will be the white benefactors who will help you get up in the future, even if it's at the expense of your own people. If you are a pretender to the throne, if you are a turncoat and a traitor and the enemy within, understand something. We're going to remove the white supremacists and we are going to remove the white supremacist sympathizers. Everybody must go. So what I'm going to say is that I don't know much about you, Mr. James, but if you ain't on the right foot, you better get on the right foot now, or your political career will be leaving the building feet first. And that's real talk, brother. What I am suggesting, if nobody else does it, because I know there are other people who are out there interested, but we need a big microphone. We need a big megaphone for this. And, you know, if we are able to identify candidates in Ferguson, we should hold a meet the candidates so that we can talk to these people and get them to express to us what they will do when elected to office, and then we can determine which ones we want to put our money behind. That's what I'm talking about us doing here at the Black Channel. Now, I'll be taking comments on this later to just find out how many of you think that would be a good idea. But that's what I want to do. I want to be able to steer this thing and guide this thing from beginning to end, so we make sure that the job gets done right. I want to make sure that the Black Channel shows that the job is going to get done right. And this is going to set up a situation that is going to redefine and revolutionize the way that we look at black empowerment in the past and in the future. No more coonery and buffoonery. No more nonsense. No more hoping for non-black saviors. The power is in our hands, and it's time for us to get accustomed and comfortable with the idea of having power in our hands. It's time for us to get comfortable with that. Because too many black folk are uncomfortable having power, because the first thing that we as black people think about, first thing we think about when we get power is how can we get a white person to like us and pat us on the head. So black people see the world through the eyes of white oppression. So whenever we get anything, we seek what white oppression seeks for us. White oppression says that you have to make them happy, that you have to appease them at every turn, even when it's to your own detriment. So we see the world through white supremacy's eyes. So whenever we get power, wealth, or influence, we immediately go look for a way to appease white supremacy, to get that cookie, that pat on the head from white supremacy, for them to throw a couple of squares of hot water cornbread. That's what we look for. Okay, I know hot water cornbread doesn't come in squares. You get my point. We look for a way to whore ourselves out to appease white supremacy, to look non-threatening. We get power that can threaten the status quo. We are the only people who gain power that can threaten the status quo, and then immediately take that power to benefit the status quo. We are the only people who do that. And I'm saying that that's going to change now. That's going to change now. And now in Ferguson, we have a rare opportunity where we can take control of the levers of government and the economy simultaneously. This is not about ignoring the economy in Ferguson, people. I want this to set off a chain reaction and a domino effect of black empowerment from one end of this nation to the other. I want us to take it all. I don't want some of it. That 5-story building that Dr. Anderson talked about, I want it all. We understand that economics is the most important thing, but we got an opportunity in Ferguson to get both at the same time. Let's get it all. I want you to know that you can master your life, and taking over the city council and overthrowing that white apartheid regime government in Ferguson. Do you know what a confidence booster that will be for black people in Ferguson? Once they see that they can overthrow the white supremacist government, they will start looking at their daily lives differently. There was no excuse that you couldn't overthrow that government. Now there's no excuse for you not overthrowing the white supremacist economy. We cannot sit on our laurels and think that government is going to do that for us. Government's purpose is to grease the skids and to enforce the will of those who run and build the economy. Government's purpose is to divide the resources of a community for the most effective utilization. And that is why you need an economy, because you cannot divide resources that you do not have. And you can only divide what you own and control and are passing down. It is imperative that we have an economy. You do in Ferguson, the end of the game is not having a black government. Let me say this again for the folk who may want to go back into their apathy and laziness. The end goal is not to have a black government. The end goal is not to have a black government. The end goal is black empowerment. And if the only thing that we do is we started getting a black government and we do what we did during the civil rights generation, and we figure that having a black mayor and a black city council is all we need, then we have screwed up all over again, and it was for nothing. Taking control of the Ferguson government is not the end, it is just the beginning. And to be totally honest with you, that's step 2. It's not even step 1. Taking control of the Ferguson government is supposed to be a precursor to let everybody know of the bigger things that are to come. We took control of the government. We're taking control of this economy and the media and the schools and the courts. We're taking it all. That should be the goal of taking over the city council, is that's just the first beachhead we're going to take. Next, we're gonna get this economy cracked off. If you're gonna have a rim shop, that damn thing needs to be black owned. If you're gonna have a McDonald's, that damn thing needs to be black owned. If you're gonna have a daycare, a hardware store, a shoe store, them damn things need to be black owned. And nothing short of that will do. Nothing short of that is gonna satisfy us. We want 100% control of the Ferguson city government, and we want control of the Ferguson economy. Why? Because it's our economy. It belongs to us. And we want control of our economy. And we will settle for nothing less. Nothing less. We want total control of our city government because it's ours, it belongs to us. And we want total control of our economy because it belongs to us. It is ours. And everybody and everything that moves within our economy in Ferguson must be benefiting us. If it does not benefit us, it cannot move. Every man, woman, child, piece of machinery or institution must move for the benefit of black empowerment in Ferguson. Everybody. There can be no place for anyone who is not doing that. No place. Because it is time to balance these scales. Past time. You cannot just start and end at the city council. We are here to take everything. We are here to take it all. We're here to take it all. And we're just starting with the government. When you watch these films about Europeans, they go off conquering people. What's the first thing that they say whenever they win their first battle? That's a start. We're just getting started. It's a good start. They didn't come to win a damn battle. They came to win it all. They came to win it all. And a half victory and half measures are not gonna do. You are going to need to build a black economy. And then you're going to have to make sure that your black politicians don't start using their positions to try to sell people out. You have got to have a code of conduct that ensures black empowerment. And then you pass all of that, your government, your economy, your code of conduct, your power, wealth, influence, all of it. You pass all of that down to your children so that they can repeat the cycle and maintain the power and the wealth and the influence. That is what you do. No, brothers and sisters, getting that city government is just the beginning. To be totally honest with you, getting the city government isn't even the beginning. It is the beginning of the beginning. Taking the city government is just the beginning of the beginning. It's not even the beginning of the story. It's just the beginning of the beginning. You know how the Bible says, in the beginning? Taking the Ferguson city government is just the in. It's not even the complete beginning. It's just a fraction of the beginning. And now we're going to take all of it. Your worst nightmare come to life We are here now for the purposes of making sure that damn thing happens. Now, brothers and sisters, you know your enemy. You know his capability. You know his resources. We should do more investigation. We should find out exactly how many votes Jay Knowles got. We need to find out where they came from. We need to find out how many he got so that we know which city council districts to target. We need to know where the vote came from and how many voted so that we know exactly how many people we got to get to beat them. That's what we need next now. Brothers and sisters, I'm not talking to you about political slogans. I'm talking to you about strategy. I'm talking about strategizing. We want to know the city council districts. We want to know how many votes Mark Byrne got, how many votes Kim Tian got, how many votes Kallstrom got, how many votes Knowles and all the others got. We want to know how many votes they got so we know how many votes we need to get more of, or more than. This is what changing the world looks like. This is what changing the world sounds like. And now we're going to make it happen. More details in the coming weeks as we begin to put this thing together. I'll see about, putting those things out there. But brothers and sisters, this is a bellwether moment. Because once we prove that this can work in Ferguson, once we get our show together, we're going to take the show on the road. You better believe that. And this concludes tonight's broadcast of the BlackChannel.net radio. I am your host, your brother, your humble servant, the Black Authority. And until next time, brothers and sisters from around the world, remember, black is the future, and the future is uncompromising. Now let's get to getting that information.